سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق وخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهذه إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره وقداره العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. الحمد لله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. الحمد لله رب العالمين. أفضل الصلاة وتم وتسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ورضي الله تعالى عن هذا السادة التابعين وعلماء آملين وأئمة أربعين مجتهدين مقلديهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Alameen, welcome back to the Soullutionz podcast, uh, hosted by Amir, Khalil, Abdullahi, Imam Muhammad Abdullah, Ameen, myself, Imam Malik Robinson, and brother Saleh Abdul Mujeeb. Alhamdulillah, we took a break after Ramadan. We had intended to take a week. It turned into 3 weeks. So, alhamdulillah, we're back and we're discussing some of the contemporary issues that had happened post Ramadan and how certain events have taken place, like the death of Kevin Sandler's the secure, and now just this past week, the massacre in Texas. So these are all signs, or I should say, like dress rehearsals leading up to the arrival of Imam Mahdi, alayhi salam, which I'm saying his arrival is soon. I mean, probably in a matter of a few years. But alhamdulillah, everything that has taken place, all of the events that have taken place throughout history from the 80s all the way up until now are all dress rehearsals. Some of these things was already prophesized. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said people by name, as he referred to Saddam Hussein as the Sufyani, right? Saddam Hussein was from the lineage of Abu Sufyan, Bani Umayyah. So he mentioned certain incidents by name. I mean, so, but in our time that we're dealing with now, we have so many things that has taken place, and one of the biggest things that people, they love to hate this guy, but they always trying to be like him. That's that man Kevin Samuels. So I didn't always agree with everything that he said. Whether he related to the appearance value of men or the appearance value of women, or what he said about things he said about women and things that he said about men, because he didn't have he didn't cut no corners. But I don't really want to give a whole lot of attention to him. Someone else can talk about him. I want to mention some of the things that I realized about the no, not the Boston, the Buffalo massacre. This individual, this individual had an 86-page manifesto. If anyone knows what a manifesto is is a manifesto is it's like a plan, an explanation of reasons of why you do a particular action, or what type of lifestyle that this is related to. So when they caught this individual this individual came in the court with a hospital gown on, as to imply that he was mentally insane. However, given the fact that he wrote an 86-page manifesto, he wasn't insane at all. But the things that he had put in this manifesto, it clearly brings out that he was intentionally trying to do a genocide. He was intentionally trying to do a cleansing. And one of the things, what he had mentioned in his manifesto, he said within the 20-year span, and he was talking about within 20 years from now, that the Euro-American race is going to be basically wiped out. And you know what I'm saying? I understand where he's coming from, because if you look at the European, the Euro-American or the Caucasian race, globally, they're the minority. They're a global minority. And nationally, if you separate them, divide them up, they're also minorities. But the idea is that they supposedly are the majority of the citizens in the United States. However, that's not true, because he said because of mass immigration, people into the people coming into this country. You have Somalian refugees come here, Syrian refugees come here. You got Ukrainian refugees that come here. You have all of the refugees. Everyone sending their refugees here to the United States, here to America. So because of that, biologically, the white race will be wiped out. And you look at the interracial marriages. You know what I'm saying? If a white woman marry a black man and have children by them, biracial children, them children are black. If a white man marry a black woman and have children by her, them children are still black. However, ethnically or lineage, according to lineage, they will be considered European because their father is European, but their geneticism, their biology is African, black.
Can I add on to something with that too?
Yeah,
Also, due to that, the reproduction ratio of the Caucasians is that they don't they don't have a numerous amount of children either, right? So the average African American household, we have roughly, nowadays roughly about 4 kids. So normally, a Caucasian family, household consists of, you know, uh, daughter, son, or sometimes even one, because they have a high rate of having children at an older age, right? So a lot of times when you see Caucasians, as you see all the time, they wait till they, finish college, find a degree, find a job. They're stable at their job, and then they plan on having children. And normally, they have children roughly around what, 40 years old, 45 years old. So
that's some. Them are the ones. That's a particular category of them. You have that's some. They Planned Parenthood. They come out of college. They get into their career. They save up money. They stack money. They marry, and in some cases, they don't start having children until the wife retires the husband or the husband retires the wife. However it goes, for to bring stability. Now that's generally when it's a white father, husband, and a white wife, right? But in the case where it's a white wife and it's an African American husband, a lot of times they generally have children early,
early,
right?
yeah.
Have children early, and it'd be more than one or two or three children. It normally be four or five. No, sisters they never been with white men in their life. They never been with white men in their life, and all of their children are black. And they never been married outside married to anyone in their race. All of their ex-husbands are black or African, right? However you want to put it. But what he was mentioning in that is that 20 years from now they'll be extinct. The same thing. This is why. This is one of the reasons why they colonize places, because when they colonize places, they set the policy. If you set the policy, they control the policy. Then they control the colony. Look at everywhere where the British they colonized. The difference between the British and the French is that when the British colonized the people, they educated them. The French, when they colonized the people, they didn't educate them. That's why when they had a uprising in Haiti in the 1600s or 1700s, right after they had drove France out of Haiti and they gained their independence, they had a economic what you call it? I mean, their economy collapsed. They had a recession, so they had to rebuild their country back up, which actually it never did, because the French, they never colonized it. But look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dealt with the French later on. Who invaded France? Adolf Hitler invaded France. You know what I'm saying? And one of my teachers, he had mentioned this in a 16 course Dawah course. And he had asked us the question, what happened to France after Adolf Hitler invaded France? What did they resort to? Right? He said they resorted to everything that they needed to do in order to survive. Right? In order to survive. So this paradigm of the British and the French and the Dutch, they colonize in places. They're going off of what is called a biocult iron, which, you know what I'm saying, according to their biology, is that if they colonize these places, they could either wipe them out or they can control the people. Look at what happened in Australia with the Aborigines. You know what I'm saying? The Aborigines of Australia, they biologically wiped them out, right? They just kept, you know what I'm saying? They just kept marrying and blending until they wiped them out. You know what I'm saying? When the British colonized India, before Pakistan became Pakistan, they had colonized India, Bangladesh, Kashmir, and, you know what I'm saying, and all of that area. You know what I'm saying? They tried to do the same thing there, but because it's so many melanated people in India, it's so many melanated people, there's no way that they could even do it. Into the countryside, you see all the melanated Chinese. So, you know what I'm saying? So this guy in his manifesto that he had wrote, you know what I'm saying, his sole purpose of his act was to do a genocide, right? So there's no way possible that this individual can claim to be mentally insane, because he had an agenda to do that. You know what I'm saying? He had an agenda. You know, and so that the thing is that a lot of us don't give any attention to the reasoning and the purpose behind the actions that are taking place, especially with guys like this. Now, he's not the only individual. There was other individuals prior to him, way before him, that had the same ideas. But you look at how this impact the people, you know what I'm saying, the country. You know what I mean? This impact the country because these events is gonna continue to happen. You know what I mean? It's gonna continue to happen. It may not be the same type of events where they're looking at their biology to try to try to preserve it. So inshallah ta'ala, hey Malik, yeah, you know, so, but Abdul Mujeeb, you know what I'm saying? Touch on some things, man. You know what I mean? What about this stuff with, like, you know, Kevin Samuels died, and you know what I'm saying, a lot of people loved him, a lot of people hated him. You know what I mean? Ti, he just did a tribute, you know what I'm saying, on his expeditiously podcast about, you know, say, for Kevin Samuels. You know what I'm
About
saying? The only
the
thing
big
that I
homie,
know,
the big homie Kevin said we gotta put some respect on his name, man. We gotta put
the
some
big
respect on his name, man. Yeah, the big homie Kevin Samuels, man. As we know, everybody know that Kevin Samuels passed. Um, you know, but but what I seen after his death, right? What I seen after Kevin Samuels' death is that it opened the floodgates back up to you know uh no more accountability. One thing, Abu Muhammad said, I didn't agree with a lot of things, especially how he went about it. Was sometimes being, too harsh to, the disrespect. Like, get off my line, get off my line. Like, that wasn't cool. That's not cool to a degree, but you got to respect the effort that he put in of telling our women to hold themselves accountable, right? And and stop wishing on a star, right? Because a lot of our women wish upon a star. They watch these hip hop shows, loving hip hop, where they the girl is dealing with a baller, he's pulling up in all type of Lamborghinis and Maseratis and Hellcats and Scat Packs, all this stuff. So, and then they want that lifestyle. The honorable boozy badass, excuse my French, but that's his name, right? The honorable boozy. He said that people are hypnotized on social media. Social media has people hypnotized, right? It's to the degree that everybody is hypnotized about seeing what the next person has, right? And then, to get into an Islamic aspect of that, is that, when it comes to that, we have the evil hasad, right? We have the good hasad, which, you want these things to yourself, but do not want it to be taken away from the person. But in our culture, we thrive off of the evil hasad, right? That you see somebody with it, you like, man, look at this dude, man, or look at that woman, she thinks she this stuff. Like, if I had that type of money, I'd do better than them. And then we'll rob the person, we'll do something to try to scam to get over them. So people are hypnotized of what other people have and want it and don't care if it gets taken away from them. So going back to that is that, there's no more accountability now. So when he died, it's just that the women went out of their way because it was like what's the old saying? Like a thorn. It was like a thorn in their side, right? That this is a man out here telling them to hold themselves accountable. That that you're not always gonna have a baller. Get yourself a nice man, marry him, and create families. At the end of the day, Kevin was talking about families, right? And this is what we emphasize too about creating families, right? Not, excuse me.
you know what else he was making a point of too. Now, mind you, when he first started out, he only had like 2,000 subscribers, and his whole reason for coming out was getting on YouTube and stuff because he was an image consultant, right? So he was an image consultant for the, to build the images of men and women, but to the point to where the men, they will be able to they building an image, but they not attracting any women, and the women they building it. He built helping them build an image, but they're not attracting any men, right? The thing is, when he had changed switched his platform to getting on women's accountability, then that's when he blew up. And most of his followers, most of his subscribers was women. They used to majority be women that would call into his show. And the thing is that his reasoning was that there was no men that was actually vocal. Women has always talked about their ideas. They have songs. There's no romance without finance. You know, so you got to have a job just to be with me. You know what I'm saying? No scrubs. I don't want no scrubs. You know what I'm
You
saying?
gotta have a job just to get with
Just
me.
just
Eddie
to get with
Murphy, honorable Eddie
me.
Murphy, exposed that.
You So you know, so they've always been vocal. But when a man a man speaks up and address certain things, now he's a misogynist. He's a misogynist because he's showing you a mirror of yourself. You know what I'm saying? And they don't even realize, a lot of the women, they don't even realize how much they hate men. You know what I'm saying? This is called misandry. You know what I'm saying? Misandry is a term that women, you know what I'm saying, they have an issue with men. However, it's a deep-seated issue that they don't never address. You know what I'm saying? One of my ex-wives today, she was like, he hate women, he's a homosexual. I said, I don't care what his sexual preference is. His question will always be to each woman, you know what I'm saying? Your baby father was good enough for you to have conceive a child by him, but he wasn't good enough for you to marry. I don't care
This
if he was a homosexual or not. This was a
I want to.
this was a question that he was promoting. He was promoting marriage. You follow what I'm saying?
Nah,
So irregardless of what his ideas is that his he set a moral compass. You know what I'm saying? And he called them out on their foolishness. You know what I'm saying? How,
but
how many how many how
the
many
thing is this.
times a woman get with a man, she have no intention on marrying him, but she would always fornicate with him. Many a times. You know what I'm saying? Many a
Yeah,
time.
I think that one of the it's like the thing is this, right? With regards to my shit, Kevin Samuel, I can't be play around with names, saying recipe, none of that stuff, because it's not permissible. But however, with him, you know, he was speaking into an audience. It's almost like uh, Black America is a group of sheep without shepherds. And if you ever notice, our leadership is always almost like you're almost starstruck by your leadership. So people fall in love with the image. The other thing is that that he's that the problem that we're having as a group of people, that joint goes way back. I think it was Salahuddin Ayubi. He said it about controlling a people, controlling the people like you can demoralize a society by the increase of fornication, right? And we know that that's one of our biggest problems. It was a problem in the churches, right? There's a problem in the masjids now. People like to taste the pudding. They give away the pudding. So now you have all these children outside of all these children running around, and they got the so-called deadbeat dads, right? And I'm talking about the real ones. The real deadbeat dad, that joint go way back. You take that joint back like 50s, 60s, with a whole pimp game and all that stuff like that. When a man run away from home and he bounce off to the next woman, he don't even have no contact with his children, right? But then, as a counter for that, during that time with the black movements and everything, the counter to that was they were placing the responsibility on the men, right? The emphasis was on the men. There's still lectures to this day where Malcolm talk about how women should be behaving, the decorum of women, and what the man's responsible for. That was back then, where the women were still turning and looking to their men, for guidance and leadership. Women aren't looking for the guidance and leadership today. You know what I'm saying? It's turning as more as the time developed, because if she has she feels, and the emphasis was on, and this is what happens when you have a society without a moral compass, without a code, right? The promotion or the advocation for the submissive woman. This was also taught in Christianity as well, right? Now the thing is, the counter to joint and all this stuff is like, really, if you really look at it according to our Islamic, we're putting our Islamic perspective on these issues. If you look at it, what is the characteristics and the description of the time of the Dajjal, and the time of the Dajjal? He's supposed to make things look upside down, make right look left and left look right. You see, so now you have this thing when you're coming, and people are saying these things. Muslims get married without dating. How do you know if you're gonna like the person? Because in the fornication culture, what I call the zinad culture, is, that fornication culture. How do you really decide if you got a good woman or not, right? And a lot of times, and also too, this is also affecting the Muslim man's perspective of a wife, right? If it's not influenced by Islam. One was if the yani was good, right? That was always the main key bulletin point, right? Now, back in the days, if she had feminine qualities, right? If she had characteristics of femininity, and when I'm talking about that, I'm just talking about just having mannerism, because remember, the loudmouth, boisterous woman was the characteristic of the speakeasy woman, right? That was the woman that all married men used to sleep with. But now they've made that, because of media, it's made that character, like the character to have on, for women to have, that even now you're even starting to see white women take on that same sassy attitude, right? Like the we call them the settlers in New York. The settlers, you see them on social media, they taking pictures in front of Marcy Projects, right? It's my Brooklyn now. They trying to get sassy, trying to take on that whole type of flavor. So what happens is women are taking on that persona. The same thing. If you look at Black American Muslims, they're known for being extremely vocal and sassy, right? I'm not your yes woman. And to some degree, some men find that attractive, right? But what happens is, how can you, as a man, you really supposed to be this think tank, the leader? You can't function where everybody's always at your neck all the time, right? You don't think I'm gonna be your yes woman. And so now what happens is, you got to be apologetic, or you always got to explain yourself. After you make a statement, there may be a situation, where you have to chastise you. Excuse me. Have to chastise your wife, right? They hate hearing those kind of words. Anything that has to do with discipline. The family structure is broken. You got a broken family structure, broken society. Then you have what? The children. On top of all of these things happening, which is crazy because y'all talked about it first, then you have these mass racial shootings, right? Where, a white person, usually 9 times out of 10, is shooting someone of a different ethnicity. They ain't just blacks. They blame it on immigrants. They blame it on this. They make their reason. It's the same thing. They used to do the same thing back in the 40s. Beat people up if they was trying to get on and work at the docks and all of these different. All this stuff happens. All this stuff plays part of the dysfunction. And what's so sad from an Islamic perspective with the Muslims, we have what can fix all that. If you look to the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were just as dysfunctional. They were just as dysfunctional prior to Islam coming. But Islam came and it fixed it. The reason why we're not having an impact is because we're too busy compromising Islam. So you got all these things happening. So you got racial shootings, racial tension. And then on top of that, you have the black men that are killing each other, right? And that joint is a 2-for-1 deal. It's a 2-for-1 deal. Think about it. You don't have to do no more, what they call them joints? Public lynchings. You don't have to do lynchings no more. Why? It's a double-edged sword. Why is that? Well, according to the 13th Amendment, slavery was no longer accepted as, as basically like a way of life, except for punishment of a crime. So when you go to jail, you're technically a slave. And if you think about it, why they don't never call you by your name? Why they give you a number, right? You're no longer your name, you're a number. And when they call for mail, when they call for your mail, they don't always call your name, they call your number, right? When you call down for a visit, you're not called by your name, you call by a number. So you got that. So 2 for 1 hit, right? Right now, homicide is hotter than selling crack in the 80s and 90s, right? 80s and 90s, crack was taking them out. 70s, heroin, 60s, 70s, heroin was taking them out. 2020s is bullets, right? You get one that dies, okay? That's one man gone. You get the other one who's behind the trigger, he's gone as well. And then you got the other trifecta, which is homosexuality, right? Then they're gone. All three of these situations has killed reproduction and family life because you ain't got no family to man. So now they realize that there's a problem. Now think about it. If people started realizing, especially women started realizing like, yo, it ain't no men out here. We really need men, right? But no, I got a trick for that too. Ha ha. Once you start dating people outside your race, there's no problem with that. But this is the alternative. Then they still realize not everybody's gonna get that fortune and lucky. Ha ha. I got another one. Lesbianism. You don't need a man. Y'all got each other. Same thing a man can do, I can do it too. All I need is a little plastic. Ha, I got you. Right? They try to figure out this thing here and giving you a remake. This is Dajjalic, right? Dajjal. Even if you look at the word of Dajjal, which means a liar, it's like a bad imposter, right? If you look at it, and this is some serious psychology. Or I'll take you back in the day where you say this is some serious technology right here. You're literally believing that getting with the opposite sex will cure all your problems. I mean, getting with the same sex will cure all your problems. So we have a conundrum going on. Nobody's really mad at Kevin Samuels. They're really mad at the message. And then the way he was dealing with women, he was dealing with them according to his minhaj. He was a kafir. And he was dealing with it according to the statistics. According to statistics. If you open up books and magazines and read them things, it talks about it. Women's weight, women's age, height, how they look, job background, family background, all of these things. And it actually does, to some extent, play a background. Like, for instance, if you have a young man that grows up, unless he has some sort of determination, right? A young man that grows up, he doesn't have male influence in the household, you'll see more feminine energy from him. He's going to imitate who is in front of him. And so now, if you ever notice, now you hear almost every young man saying, yeah, my mother was strong. She shouldn't have had to struggle. Yo, everybody go to work. People went to work during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Asma binti Abu Bakr, her husband wasn't rich. She went and helped him carry his loads. Everybody's going to work. So for some reason, we're promoting this false conception or misunderstanding that if a woman works, then that means that the man has lost his murua.
I got another question for you, Imam Khalil. Since we're hitting it on the nose, right? Because this is what I wanted to talk about, right? Mm-hmm. When has it not been cool that a hardworking man is not good enough anymore?
When did we hit that point? We hit that point when our great, let me see. So when our great grandfather was around, that's when we hit that point. Because that point was great grandma was dependent on granddaddy, right? Great granddad, granddad 2X. That's what I'm gonna call him. She was dependent on granddad 2X, right? I know you've heard this. You're a little younger than me, but I know this still floated around. Didn't everybody used to always encourage their young daughters and girls, make sure you go to school so you don't need no man? That started off.
Yeah.
Grandma 2X telling grandma, and then grandma told your mama. You see what I'm saying? And we took it on too, because we used to, when we was running the streets, Everything was about, yo, girl, you go to school, you do this, that, and the third. Now there's the flip side. Now we done went to jail, then did all this prison bid and all these things like that. Here, brothers are becoming Muslim now, you know, and so on and so forth. So the lifestyle changed, right? But look at this. Now she has this good job. She has a high-paying job. We didn't take in the fact that this was going to disqualify. Some people be like, "Oh man, you know, a man is a coward. He don't want a woman to make more money than him." Sometimes that comes with a whole mentality. It comes with a mentality, and some men aren't willing to compromise that much of their principles, you know, to deal with that, because now you got the issue of emasculation when you're going to be emasculated. You
Right,
know,
right. That's what I was gonna say. It's like a double-edged sword. It's like normally is that, you know, see, our women don't realize that men get scared too, right? We get scared. And the worst thing that you could do to a man sometimes is do something for him and hold it over his head. And hold it over his head. Right. So now, you know, a woman that makes more than her man, she normally hold it, you know, in our communities, right?
right,
I don't know about any other communities. As soon as, you know, she make more money than him, what is he called? He's all type of bums. He ain't
right,
no good,
exactly.
you know. And forget a regular bum, he's an effing bum.
Right. Well, this is the other thing now, though, because if you look at it now, that 90s 2000 structure, 80s 90s to early 2000 structure, that was the structure where, you know, it might have been illegal and it might have been wrong, but what it did was it brought about an economic change for a lot of men that didn't have any money, right? And so then what happened, while they were catching felonies, they pushed the women through the college. When you, by the time you get out, you can't, if you go in the job market, right? If you have that mentality, and I'm gonna tell you another change. This is, and everything that I'm mentioning here, that when you're saying black, it's also relevant to the Black American Muslim community, because that culture still haunts us, right? Now look at this. Look at this from this parallel. So what happened was, now she has the good job, he has felonies. He can't get a job basically over minimum wage, right? He's not thinking about, okay, you were crafty enough to be able to sell drugs. Why don't you put that into entrepreneurial mindset and try to do something that's more halal and permissible, right? But instead of that, so then let's say those people that did do this, and this used to come, and understand something. This also plays a part, the structure, because on the plantation, used to have what's the word for him, Muhammad, the guy that used to run around and sleep with all the women. They used to have like a bucker or something like that. They used to call him, and he used to run around and he used to sleep and fornicate with all the women. See, fornication is actually part of our demise. You know what I mean? Allah Ta'ala, first of all, is forbidden by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? But it's also, you're not going to be able to build a functioning family and society based on a fornication culture. You're not. You know what I mean? Your vision is tainted. Then all of the principles, like, think about it. Fornication culture, what's the first thing that undermines you? If you think you're a man and you're going to have a fornicating lifestyle, right? And you tell your woman, listen, I don't want you outside all dark and stuff, you know, after after dark. You ain't got no ring on this finger, right? You ain't put no ring on this finger. Ain't no ring here. That's immediately. So everything is always created, you know, to have that undermine. So you have guys that, you know, women are attracted to, that they'll fornicate with, but they won't but they won't but they won't marry them. They're good enough for sex, but they won't marry them. You see what I'm saying? The sad part is that the woman gets stuck with the child, the man runs off free. You see what I'm saying? So now you take that. So we had the entrepreneurial mindset. Let me get back to that. Entrepreneurial mindset. Remember at one time, yo, Malik, let me ask you a question. So let me ask you this question. Me and Muhammad, we already had this conversation. When's the last time y'all really seen a Muslim vendor? Last time you seen a Muslim vendor?
What, like selling what type of merchandise?
Whatever, anything. Oils, incense, anything.
Last week.
They gone.
Not how they used to be. Yeah, not
how it used to be, right? You know, so now when people are always trying to make jokes now socially on social media about brothers selling turtles.
Selling turtles. I was just about to say that. Selling
that's
turtles.
Obsolete. Ain't nobody selling turtles no more. Ain't nobody even selling nothing. They might be selling drugs. You know, and so what you used to have also on the plantation to help to keep the division was the preacher. You know, the AKA Chitlin circuit. You know, that you know what I mean? But exactly. This guy, the vendor, your oil seller, incense seller, sock seller, DVD man, whatever he was, he became frowned upon in the Black American Muslim community. Right? What's the difference between him and the guy that has a store? He's a mobile store, and the guy that has a store, he's pretty much stationary. That's the difference. He paid more bills, right? But this was keeping people from returning back to prison. This was keeping women married. Now, see what happens is you got to pay attention to the pattern in our community. The only way you're going to be able to get past it or be able to recognize it, you know, is that when people start making jokes about something, that's usually the thing that's no longer be cool, right? For instance, people made jokes about men wearing thobes. Made jokes. Who do you see that when you see them, you can identify them as Muslim more than anybody? It's women. Why? And they're hanging on by a thread, right? Men been gave up the thobe game.
Because they don't like the in our culture, right? Our culture, you know, normally, right? Like, you know, when I was in Jahiliyyah, you know, when I was promoting parties and doing all that type of stuff, the main thing you used to cater to is the women, right? You say, we get the women, the men gonna follow,
Right.
right? You do the the before 12, all the women is free, right? So
And
all
that was
the
in
men is
order,
gonna
yeah.
yeah, the men
That was in order to pull everybody in.
right, you want to pull all the women's going to come, the men going to come, they're going to spend that money. You know, if you had enough money, you can buy the bar and you can sell the liquor yourself, or take a portion of it, all
Right.
that crazy stuff, right? Because they know the men is going to spend the money on the women, right?
Right.
Now is that, you know, our women now are still attracted to the lifestyle of danger, if that makes sense.
Well, what it is, I'm gonna add to that. I'm fine tune what you're saying. They're attracted to power, right? They're attracted to power. There's not a woman. Any woman says she's lying, right? So no woman will ever pick a man that they feel is powerless, unless she's trying to run him. You understand what I'm saying? So now, what they define as power, because if you go back about 10, 15 years ago, I remember all the imams used to be preaching about all the time about how the sisters always marrying these thug brothers. Why they marrying these thug brothers? These brothers are thugs, right? Because their false perception of power. They thought it was power. They're attracted to the bad guy because the bad guy the villain looks like the actual hero.
He doesn't have to answer to anyone, and anytime you don't have to answer to no one, it is some sort
Right.
of power. It's the rebellion
Right.
that they're in love with.
Exactly. It's just a power, you know, and it's not at fault. Just like also too, and I'll say this, you know, realistically, every woman, it's in her nature to be taken care of. It's in her nature. She desires to be taken care of, right? Every man in his nature, in his DNA makeup, is to be autonomous, to be free, right? Look at the Dajjalic influence. Women are desiring independence. I ain't gotta listen to no man. I don't need no man. And men are looking to be taken care of now.
But
Right?
now peep this, peep this, right? Peep this,
SubhanAllah. Uh-huh.
peep this. I was scrolling through Facebook at work, and this is a trend that's about to happen again, right?
Right,
Because
right.
once you see more than 5 women talking about it, it's about to become a thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
A sister said, "Why do all the toxic men have the good, you know what I mean?"
I seen that.
So I said to myself, I said, "What?" And one woman said, "Oh, I miss that toxic man." Now it's going to go back to the point where they're running back to the toxic thing because, like you said, it's this hypersexual drive is running our communities. So
Right.
they prefer something toxic instead of happiness. As Imam Nadir, he put in, I think it was Imam Nadir or was it Abdul Kabir, when he put up the thing with the woman when she said, yeah, I divorced my husband because, you know, he worked, and we didn't have no money. So I went out there and cheated on my husband, divorced him, and he died. Right?
Right. Cheating now is just culture. It's part of the culture. It's expected. Everybody anticipates cheating. And even, you know, it's just anticipated now. This is an alternative. Polygyny is frowned upon. Cheating is like, okay, you know, I don't like that this is happening, but I want you to stop cheating with her. And everything will go back to normal. Like, okay. But you get in polygyny, you know, burn the town down. Right? I'm telling you. Listen, everything that we're witnessing, the Prophet ﷺ spoke on it. Look at the number of women. There's, bro, listen, our youth ain't even making it to 18, Sheikh. Ain't even
right.
making it to 18. I think last year in Philly, it was 500 murders and about 200, anywhere between 200 and 240 of them were young men under 18. And another 100 of them was women. The destruction, where is it going? It's killing off the family. And then you got the Muslims that don't have a clue of what they're doing. When you hear them talking the way they're talking, they're clueless. That's what it is. Most people aren't Jamaat, right? And then if they do, they try to find the most toxic situation that they can be in because it's popular. They're not going to look for the truth. They're looking for the popularity. So then we condemn each other, right? All of the things the Prophet ﷺ tell us not to do, we do it. Don't have gilla towards each other, hatred, animosity. This whole thing is fueled on it. If you mention something to, you know, just an example. If you have a conversation with your wife, I like that term that Muhammad. I give you the props for that. You know, sisterhood of failure, right? And you say, hey man, you know, the sisters, this is the issue we need to look at right here. Well, what about the brothers though? Right? This exists right in the household. Right in the household. We're split down the middle, divided. So imagine what's going to go on with the children. Then the children, you know, it's just like a repeated cycle. We're stepping on our own feet. You know what I mean? Back in the day, remember, you know, I ain't get no job for Whitey. Remember that back in the day? But that fueled and sparked, you know, do for self. Now, you ain't going to work for yourself. I ain't going to be out here begging and peddling. Think about it. It's called peddling. If you're out selling merch in the street. But when you go to most countries outside of America, where are they markets at? Outside of the street.
Outside.
All this stuff is psychological control, which means you'll never have a sovereign mind. You'll never think like, you'll never think like the and I put that in quote, the king that you claim to be. Because a king stands on his own.
Right. We're never going to get anywhere if we're not empowering each other.
Exactly.
Right? If we're not empowering each other, such as men, right? You know,
right.
By me being younger than you, what I've learned from the guys that was older than me, they never lined me up to be something better than what it was.
Right.
Right now, if you check into the hip hop world, the world in the streets right now, it's always the young guys against the old guys.
No.
The young guys against the old guys. And what we learned not to have, not to empower each other, not to invest in each other, right?
Right.
Not to help each other, like, brother, oh, look, I got this good idea right here. Look, I'm going to put you onto this. I'm going to show you how to get this. I'm going to show you how to get that. Is that we tell each other what to do. We're not empowering each other, right? Like guys who own trucking companies or anything like that. We don't get the young guys to come to work for us, right?
Right.
Even if he's a knucklehead, because we got to acknowledge that I was a knucklehead, you was a knucklehead.
Right.
We still need that person to pull. Nah, young boy, come
you
over here and get in this car with me.
But see, this is the other thing though too. So I seen the flip side of that coin. Sometimes the mentality is so shot that they don't respect anything except the people that's oppressing them and putting them down.
I said that. I said that too. Yeah. I said punks respect pressure.
Yeah.
Punks respect pressure.
Hold on. Let's read Malik's comment. When y'all read Malik's comments before we get lost in talk, because him and his janky internet, in the third world country.
He said effective and The perspective and the opinions that have crept into the Ummah when it comes to finances pertaining to marriage on the part of the man is sad. The man is told to pay 100% even if the woman is rebellious and disobedient and has a lack of interest in learning. These simp imams tell us it's just something we have to bear and put up
with. Yeah,
with.
now
That is messed up. Speaking on it.
hold on, he got a part
But
two.
you know, his next comment, he said, pay 50-50, you're a bum. But most men not honest not honest. A lot of them have their wife footing most of or all the bills. It's nearly impossible to make it in today's society without a two-income household. If we don't make at least 120,000 a year, you're not middle class, and you're considered low income. He says, speak on it.
Now, what I want to do, just real quick before y'all get busy, the mentality you cannot tap into the status quo's mentality, right? What I mean by that is this. First thing you talking about here, middle class. When you say middle class, you can't play into the cat. That's the same thing as a caste system. You can't play into that unless you're just using it as motivational factors, right? You figure out, you put in the budget, you figure out the budget, what works for you and your family, right? And you make it happen like that. Now, the thing is this. We have to have better decision making, right? Most of the time, a lot of decision making goes on. It happens is, okay, I need more money. So most of the time, sometimes you're gonna have to make a plan. Some people have to work 2-3 jobs in order to get to that goal. You should always have an end game. The end game is to be free, economically free, right? You gotta be economically free. You're not thinking like a man if you ain't thinking about how can I increase my provision. But not just to increase my provision so that me and my wife can go on cruises. Increase my provision so I can strengthen the deen. How can I, because look, in each Muslim household, and we want to talk about Black American households, how many kids really know more than like 1 or 2 surahs, right? It's going to take money to get that. You ain't bringing it in. So you're going to have to outsource and reach out, outsource, and either establish a school in your area, or 2, send your child to a school outside of your area. 3, maybe something online, which is still sending them outside of the area. Whatever the case is, but it costs money, right? We got to get off of that, bro. What happened to feasibility? Bro, listen. If you spending your money feasibility, it'll be rewarded. Period. It's worth the sacrifice, right? We're not thinking deen first. We're thinking dunya first. And that's what's wearing most of us out mentally. Wearing us out psychologically. It's tearing us up. And it's tearing our families up. Because usually when your wife is ready to divorce you and you ain't got a situation, where your thing is economically stable or anything like that, that's the first thing to say. Well, he can't provide for me. When you decide, listen, I'll get another wife, he can't provide for me. And that's what they focus, that's what they hone in on, right? Bro, most people can't afford to be by themselves. And this is the thing. Most situations with marriage today, they downplay 50-50, but the truth is, if he didn't put in that other 50, you still struggle. You will still struggle. You see? So this is what I'm saying. It has to be, okay, this is our reality, and this is what we're going to do. Like the other day, I said my contribution to the black man versus black woman, and I put up Dave Chappelle. I'm broke, nigga, broke, right? But it was I was serious, but I was joking. The make light of the situation a little bit. Listen, we have to acknowledge that we ain't got it all. Now let's build. What we're gonna do? How we gonna get further? You can't see yourself making goals. We don't even keep on making goals. From the time you become that teenager, right? Okay, I got to finish my high school education. I did my college training, or I started a business, whatever. A lot of brothers that's really successful, they don't even have the same wives throughout their financial, climb. Some of them, not everybody, but some of them, many of them. You see what I'm saying? So you have to have that motivation, but it comes with opting out of the matrix, meaning you got to stop thinking like that. You got to start thinking Muslim. You have to think Muslim. If you're not thinking Muslim, therefore everything is going to plummet. It's going to hit you like a ton of bricks, and it's going to fall apart. Now go ahead. I mean to Babylon. I think I done ran Saleh out of here. Oh no, when I was saying middle class, no, I really wasn't like directing that you. I know what you was mentioning that, but people have that mentality and their goal is to be middle class. That's their whole aspiration. Now, I say middle class to say according to society standards. Now, now I guess he would say none of us ain't got no bread for real because how many good brothers making 100K a year, honestly. So we can't base it according to the Kufar standard. Now that's the thing, and that was the thing with if you were Kevin Samuel Stan, that was the other thing. So now you got brothers running around here, when they affected by him, whether they like him or love him. I mean, whether they love him or hate him, they're saying I'm a high value man or a high value woman or high value. Look, man, we didn't live our life like that before. Our life used to be based on, was the sister good and was Islam solid and so on and so forth. The Ummah grew faster than we were ready for it. So now you getting any old Joe Blow Schmo coming in Islam and they running game on people sometimes. You know what I mean? But we never used to use this kind of terminology. This is something new now. You see what I'm saying? So, when we start taking on that same type of mentality, then we become black first and Muslim second. Right? When we supposed to be Muslim, and our nasab is whatever our nasab is, right? Your nasab isn't more important than deen, right? But and you have your society and those things that of your culture that can fit with Islam, not making Islam fit with those cultural practices. You know what I mean? We walked away from that. We're saying Islam, good character, sadly falls at the wayside in our times. Absolutely, absolutely. Nah. Yeah, anything you add, Muhammad? I mean, keep babbling.
No, so yeah, I understand the scenario. We got to get to acting on the acting on the assignment. All right, like a lot of times, a lot of times we have like in our time now. I had to compare like the difference between my younger children, right? Back when my older children was in school, what I'm saying, they was learning Quran. What I'm saying, one of my Ibns, he was in the Dar Ulum program. He was like 6, 7 years old. Came out of that joint. He had memorized the majority of Juz Amma. My other Ibn, he had learned the last 3 Juz. He had memorized the last. You know what I'm saying, but he was also at the top of his class over the Arab kids in regards to Arabic. Even his Arabic was like real crisp. So the thing is that during that particular time, it was more of the focus was on Quran and no focus was on adab for adab. You know what I mean? As a result, because Chicago is a gang culture city, a lot of the kids, they got swooped up in vacuums. I remember, one young brother, when they came back from Syria, as soon as he come back from Syria, he became a black disciple. You know what I'm saying? Because whatever happened in Syria, when he got back here and got back home, seeing how the dynamics was in Inglewood, you know what I'm saying? He got swooped up in that vacuum. Him and his little brother. You follow what I'm saying? And their father, their father is like real tight with my father. You know what I mean? So he would always make dua for my Abi. You know what I mean? So it's like from that generation, even with my generation, you know what I'm saying? Education was the focus. Education was the focus. You know what I mean? So we have to get back to that, and we have to get back to training our young men to take the torch of leadership. You know what I mean? To pick up the leadership, or we'll be faced with all of the old shit dying off. None of the youth are stepping up to take leadership, and the everything that comes with it, good character, to soul wolf, application of the fiqh, understanding of what is necessary to know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff will die away and wither away. And you know what I'm saying, as we get closer and closer to the advent of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam and the coming of the Dajjal, we're gonna go into the rock bottom state before, you know what I'm saying, the manifestation of the ayat qad aflaha al-mu'minun, that ayat, you know what I'm saying, crystallize and manifest. You follow what I'm saying? Because we even look at the ayat means that you have already success. You are already successful. I mean, aflaha is talking about past. You're already successful. You know what I'm saying? So the fitna that's going on is clear at the time that we're in. You know what I'm saying? I think we was talking about this early, I think yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Abdul Mujeeb said, yeah, the liar gonna be looked at as being truthful, and the one who is truthful gonna be looked at as the liar. You know what I'm saying? So it's not, so the whole idea of lower class, middle class, what's the class over middle class? High class?
Upper
You
middle
know,
class.
$100,000 a year, $100,000 a year is at one time wasn't even middle class. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like
Well,
one
that's
at
still
one time,
considered like lower middle class.
the poor margin, the poor bracket was 15,000 a year. Now it's at 22,000 a year. That's the poor bracket margin.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so we as time goes on, you know, it's going to get worse and worse, and it's going to
But
come to a time where we're not going to be able to find anyone to give sadaqah to.
the problem, this is also another problem too. So we're not going to do good by being by ourselves. We're not going to do good by, you know, being alone, isolating ourselves. You know, it's not going to help anything. You know, this absolute isolation. You know, I don't need nobody. Just me and Allah got this. That ain't even how the deen came into fruition. You know, it even came about. You know, so this is definitely, you know, problematic. Switching lanes just a little bit. This is a good comment here. I think music plays a big role in all. Absolutely, music is one of the main catalysts on, you know, what's causing these children to shoot each other. Between that and Instagram, you know, and Snapchat and all that, you know, they're making diss records, you know, actually indicting themselves, telling on themselves, and people are bouncing and bopping to it. We already knew from back in the day, you know, if you had certain music playing, you messed up, right? You can go back to the OGs. The OGs music was a lot of simp music, yeah. You know, like my man, I love my man Otis Redding, but yo, you listen to some of his lyrics, man, he was a simp, right? You know.
Well, listen, I listen to a lot of simp music.
No,
Hey,
I'm just saying though.
hey,
That music had you. That
ain't
music had
nobody
you in your mode.
a simp like Babyface, Jack.
Yo, listen.
Ain't nobody a simp
Hold on.
like
Remember,
Babyface.
go back to Teddy P when he was part of Harold and Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, right?
Oh,
Remember what was that song? He's like, yeah, girl, I went out and got a job today. You know it was bad. You know it was bad. He's had his way of conning her back in, and it's the same exact thing now. Ladies, I'm giving y'all free game now, right? Dudes like the con they way back in. They love messing up. Messing up, it was so popularized that was part of a man's repertoire. Yeah, I go out and cheat from time to time. You know, I mess up. I ain't perfect. Muslims still do the same thing. I ain't perfect, right? But I'm doing my best. And then they do the same thing. You know how people always say, yo, you ain't never gonna know what you got until it's
Do
gone.
that again. Do that again, man, Khalil. Do that one
It
more
never
time.
left. What?
One more time.
What's that?
What you
You
just
know,
did. All right. I'm not
I ain't
perfect.
perfect. I ain't perfect. You know what I'm saying? That's what we live on. We thrive off of that. We love hadiths and ayats that make it look like the sinful is on point, right? Like you ever chin check a friend of yours, like, yo, man, you know you ain't supposed to be doing A, B, C, and D. well, the Prophet Sallallahu said, you know, that Allah Ta'ala said in the Hadith al-Qudsi that if mankind didn't sin, he'll destroy us and make another people who sin. Dude, you sound just as dumb as like remember Vampire in Brooklyn? Evil is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Evil is
No,
good.
you got
You
evil.
can't exaggerate what you. We understand what's being said, but damn, you're gonna make it a habit out of this now,
Right.
and you're gonna justify it by the Sharia? It doesn't make sense. We have to develop. We really have to start thinking and acting Muslim. We don't think and act Muslim, and those things like like the sister mentioned with music. We put that in our ear, and it contradicts that. And okay, it's one thing you listening to it. I'm not saying you should listen to it. My recommendation: you should try to pull away from it as much as possible. But if you're listening to it, you're just working out to it. Whatever the case is, okay. But when you see that thing is starting to think, and conflict with your mind, you need to pull away from that and pull more towards the Quran. We pull away from the deen and go more towards those things that are haram. You see what I'm saying? This is why we have fornication culture mixed in with Islam. Like, what's y'all know, y'all not strangers to this. I hope nobody's offended by it. No kids under 13 is listening to this. But you know how non-Muslims now, you know what they call fixing their relationship now? Is bringing in the third wheel. Y'all know about that, right? I know Muslims who do that. They love to bring in the third party. Let's spice up our sex life. Let's get somebody else. People usually use polygyny like that. That's what I mean. This is just me personally. I don't like my wives looking for me another wife. Because it started to make me feel like you want to party or something. You know what I mean? Hey, I'm thinking it's time for you to get a new wife. Why? Why you think that? What's all that for? Let me think that myself. Right? I don't need that help in that aspect. You see what I'm saying? Because she ain't coming into bed with us. So what you worried about it for? You see what I'm saying? But this is the new thing now. This is the new trend. I think our sex life could be, spruced up a little bit. We can save our marriage. Right? These things, these things, it happens like that. This is the new trend, the new mindset of the Muslims, because the Muslims are bringing this into Islam. They're bringing it into Islam. And the Muslims are rejecting polygyny, but the non-Muslims are embracing it. This is the crazy part. You're rejecting it as a concept. They accept it. They're accepting it. It is going around. Right? But the thing is, it's a lot, man. We have to really get honest with ourselves and say, look, I don't like what's going on. Turning off the TV, hiding in your house is not going to solve the problem. Because as a Muslim, by default, you are dedicated. You're supposed to be dedicated to continuing and raising Allah Ta'ala's deen. Right? And we're talking about all of this post-Ramadan issue, current events, right? One other joint I want to talk about. I'll wait and see if y'all done. If not, I'll put to one more subject before we get out of here. Y'all good? Y'all got anything more to add or?
Nah, I ain't got no more to add, man. I'm still be working out to Rocky though.
What about you, Saleh?
Like I said, no, this was a good one to get us warm back up, and start going back in the next following week.
Well, I got one for you.
Go ahead.
It was a hot topic. We discussed it amongst ourselves. Women and children at the masjid. Women and children at the masjid. In today's time, I think it's very important to have the family participating in the functions of the masjid, right? Juma at least, classes, right? Now, that memo, I really don't care about the community that was talking about it. But the issue in and of itself where they was talking about what brought them about and made them discuss this bring out this issue was because sometimes children are left unattended. They run wild in the masjid, right? And they're not being tended to, right? Now, usually the behavior molding starts at home. I remember as a child, right? If we was going somewhere, I used to get the speech. But you get in here and start acting like a fool. I'll take you in that bathroom and take you behind up, right? Just go to church, same thing. Sometimes I get in church, I used to get in church and there my little homies, we get the kick in the seat. So the first step was, stop, right? They stop it. If your mama ain't do it, you had the usher come through. She give you that look, right? Then you was in trouble when your mother gave you the butt lip, the butt lip. Right? That you get the butt face. I've seen it, I've witnessed it. In our communities, in the massages, yes, Hassan and Hussein used to play on the neck of the Prophet, say something, jump on his back while he's praying. But good God Almighty, people ain't got no shame. They don't even say nothing to their kid. You doing class, kid, the person can't concentrate. You can't hear, right? And you be like, man, chill.
And they send the kids down to the men. Send the kids downstairs.
Send them down to the men.
And the men are the ones who's doing the lectures. Send them downstairs to the men.
Back upstairs. Then look at this as well. Is a person supposed to come to the masjid when they're not in a state of tahara? Right? So we have a big deal about women coming to the masjid on their mints, right? In the Sharia. What about changing diapers on the Musalla? Who's straight changing poopy diapers on the Musalla? Won't get up, go to the bathroom. It's too much for you.
Hey, it's a man.
They lucky I ain't on no Kevin Samuels type stuff and start calling them Bertha and all that kind of stuff. He be doing Sally and big what do you call him? Big Mama or whatever.
Big Shirley.
Big Shirley. I can't get up and go to the bathroom. Man, it's only a couple feet down the hall. You can't get up to go change your baby's diaper. They do these things in the masjid. So that goes to tell you how much respect you have for the masjid. But I bet you if you go in the bank, you be like, shh, quiet. You ever notice how quiet a bank is? You go in a courthouse, you know how quiet a courthouse is? But you go in the masjid and turn up, get buck wild. Matter of fact, people be so scared. You got a woman who wear niqab when she go in the bank or the store, she feel like she has to lift it up. But you come in the masjid and raise hell. Think about it, all right? We got to do better. We got to do better. People ain't even thinking about that because we're so self-absorbed. We only care about ourselves. Can't nobody tell you nothing. If can't nobody correct you, then you're never going to learn anything. You're never going to learn nothing. And so then that's when, that kind of thing. That's even the same thing. As Imam. Sometimes, you're dealing with people, especially like women. Sometimes they try to get crazy with you sometimes. You be like, yo, listen, hold up, slow down. I ain't your husband. Use that voice with him. I'm not that guy. Like, chill out. Then it's like, this, that, and the third. Bro, our character is everything. We can't get nowhere because sometimes our character is bad. People are fighting, right? Oh, that's another post-Ramadan issue. Our teenagers, our youth, rolling on each other to eat because they rolling with different gang sets. This is bad. We in bad shape, man. What you say, Malik? Yeah, unruly kids at the masjid. Young boy jumped in the cement. We putting down cement floor in the back. Young boy 2 feet in. Whoop! Put his footprints in that joint. After we told him, don't let him go back there. But anyway, I digress. But anyway, y'all got anything else to add? Inshallah.
I just got off.
We just getting back on. Yo, what we gonna do? We gonna do the program while we out of town next week?
Yeah, that I think that would be even dope.
Yeah, that'd be dope. That'd be live,
okay.
Man.
All All right, so we'll be on same bat time, same bat channel next week, inshallah.
We can see if we can find like one of the what is like the phone stands from like the Walmart. And we have it where we at, you know what I mean? Everybody could probably be there, you know.
Inshallah. So, you know, everybody that's online watching, listening, you know, we ask you, you know, if you're a new listener, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? We ain't asking for nothing else. Subscription and just share. You know, give us a like, give us some hearts. You know, because what happens is when you do that, the algorithms the social media platform promotes it and pushes it as well. We always got to go out here and do it ourselves. You know, when you out here sharing your own content, you like the guy who used to sell mixtapes out of the trunk. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and we need love too. You know, we are pumping our CDs out the trunk. You know what I mean? Bring you this fire flame. So, you know, the least I could do, give us a like, share, subscribe. You know what I mean? Even comment. Tonight, alhamdulillah, this is good, man. We got some interaction, you know. Is a topic where people can get interactive. You know, these aren't really meant to, the podcast really aren't meant to be classes, more so the discussion and give solutions to problems, you know. So, you know, and everything that we spoke on, I think we covered, and we also offer the solution as well. So, you know, inshallah, we'll be back next week, you know, next Friday, same bad time, same bad channel, inshallah. You know,
in ATL.
KS, you know, Kevin Samuels. You know, matter of fact, yo, it's funny because now I'm starting to see a lot of people's style has changed up, and now they're all mimicking him and his style, right? Even people with the adverse opinions of his, they're trying to use his style now. You know, so he popularized it. Don't get fooled, because that's what they call the red pill, blue pill, or the manosphere. That stuff is entertaining at the end of the day. Yeah, you get game from it. You know what I'm saying? You get game from it. Don't get me wrong. You benefit from it. But that manosphere atmosphere, it's about likes. And the person you listen to is usually the person that appeals to what you like to hear. Right? Now, if you're a truth seeker, you'll sit down and listen, you know, and listen objectively and come to your own conclusion, you know, on these subjects and matters. You know, like, you know, with some discussions, it's actually good discussions. And some stuff, I think it's actually pretty good if you sat your family down and explain certain points that he's talking about. Some stuff you got to disregard, and some stuff you should, you know, explain, because he does bring up a lot of good points. Matter of fact, one episode, the Joker mentioned, he was like, you know, he was talking about black women in general. He's like, what's wrong with y'all women? The Muslims, they got a good program. Why don't you follow the Muslims? He said that. But boy, if he'd have known the new millenniums, the millennium Muslims, boy, I think they have the same mentality, you know, and the same persona that he's speaking against. So, you know, but alhamdulillah, you know, I think that's it. Inshallah. You see this, y'all? Look at this, Muhammad Saleh. You see what Malik said, right? We gonna hold him to it. You see what he said? I'll be on a different device next week. Okay.
Well, what iPhone you getting? What iPhone you getting? Are you going Android on us?
Nah, he better not go Android. If he go Android, he might as well get a one-ear Bluetooth. Talking like Baba the cab driver. Hello. Oh, okay. I guess he's saying Mahmoud's tablet works better. All right, mashallah. We thought you was getting a new phone. All right, inshallah. With that, I guess we'll close out, you know. Barakallahu fikum. Muhammad, you can give us that good old Sufi dua. Take us out of here. Inshallah, he got warm up to make his duas.
ناصر الحق بالحق وهذه إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره مقداره العظيم اللهم إني أسألك اللهم أهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيما تواليت وبارك لنا فيمن أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل من وليت ولا يعز من عديت تبارك ربنا وتعاليك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وصلى الله على النبي الكريم آمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق وحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره مقدار العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم.
Wait,
سبحانك
I ain't see this one.
لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Anybody want to answer that question real quick? I ain't see that.
Bullet point strategies that we as future husbands should start implementing immediately to offset the gender war issue. So, you want to tackle that, Abdul Mujeeb?
Are there any bullet point strategies that we as future husbands should start implementing immediately to offset the gender war? To offset the gender war, to be honest with you, how I feel now, like I said, I'm kind of like the rebel out of everybody. I don't think the gender war is going anywhere, right? As long as social media runs the household, because that's what's going on. Social media is running the household. Is going to be a problem, but the main thing I can say that can that can be our protection is the fear of Allah. The fear of Allah. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. Do you have anything else to say, Khalil, or about that?
Gender war. If you highlight the points that's always mentioned to be that's the catalyst behind the gender war is usually discussion of economics, um, polygyny. Polygyny ain't going nowhere. Economics, things of that nature. The only way you're really going to get around it, as you said, in totality, is the fear of law. But then one last thing, to add to that is, well, not the last thing, but we're just going to have to really learn and study the behavior of the Prophet Sallallahu and implement as much as that into your marriage, right? And you have to be able to know what you're leaving as well. Sometimes we behave, but we don't look at the flip side of things, right? Sometimes you learn a thing better by knowing its opposite, right? Like when you wanna debate someone, right? You will you have to know that opponent's their moves. All sports teams, when they're gonna play an opponent, they study their tape, right? So you should know. We should be able to recognize and see that a lot of our failures is coming from the influence of the Zinat culture, from fornication and adultery, right? We have to see that. We have to see it like that. We can't love it and want to incorporate it into Islam. So that's one of the things that's hurting. That's another thing that's hurting us. So we have to be able to see that, and and have to make Islam and make sure that both parties, the male and the female, and we have to understand, like the ayahs of the Quran. Allah said that what the Muslim man and Muslim woman, right? The believing man and believing woman, right? The qanitina and qanitat. All of them, we're friends, we're protectors and brothers of one another, right? So I can't go in to a relationship hating the sister, right? You can't go into hating the sister. You can hate the behaviors, and sometimes for some reason we can't separate that too. You can hate the behaviors, but you don't hate the individual, right? And so when you hate the behaviors, it's just behaviors that you hate. You don't assume, and then that's the other thing. We don't have hustle done for one another. Good opinion of each other, and it also breeds gillah, right? Hatred and animosity, and that's forbidden to have towards one another. See, we have something different than what the kuffar have. We have the divine law, and all we got to do is just start acting by it, and our problems will be eradicated. And it's not an overnight process either. But we ain't gonna have. You shouldn't have that mentality. I ain't perfect, yo. I ain't perfect, but I'm trying. Right? Trying means that you're eliminating things day by day. Trying don't mean that I know that I'm wrong, but I ain't do nothing to change it. That's not trying, right? So that plays a major part. And then the other thing is to teach your children the same way that younger children were taught you know, this is you don't love no woman like this, or you don't, you get your own, you don't need a man for that. When you doing that, you teach your children, right? You teach them the right thing, and they'll grow up, and you'll see the legacy. Because some of us are too tainted in order to move past, but you still got to struggle like hell in order to get past those bad traits and bad characteristics, right? But when it comes to the next generation, they believe you. You got a captive audience. They believe you, right? Um, that's all I'm gonna mention. And then Malik, he added and he said, to offset the gender wars, I say be Muslim, stick to what Allah and His Messenger said, and not our opinion in what society promotes. And Allah knows best. Absolutely. So that's the best advice I can give towards that. Inshallah. And if you weren't satisfied with what you heard tonight, man, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make us better for y'all. Inshallah.
Ameen.
My brother says, may Allah, may Allah, your actions, men, okay, guide us to correct our families and revive marriage so that we revive Jamaat, and so that we revive the Ummah, and so that we establish Islam in totality. Ameen. Alhamdulillah. All right, inshallah. Have fun. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, I'm glad we was able to help out, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.